So in this position here, what we were talking about after and before you arrived, uh, it's like the values of those pieces. See, in the Bobby Fischer book, they tell you that a pawn is like $1, a knight is $3, a bishop is $3.25, a rook is $5, and a queen is $9. But what they don't tell you, and a lot of players never realize this. I know some people have been playing chess for 40 years and they still don't understand this. Those values change. They change. So, for example, I have money invested on the stock market. So at the beginning of the day, today, my shares were worth $2.22, right? That doesn't mean anything to you. But by the end of the day, they may have gone down to $2.21. It could have gone up to $2.25. It changes. So just because in the morning my shares are worth a certain amount of money doesn't mean by the end of the day they're going to be worth the same amount of money. They could go up or down, and the values of the pieces change the same way. At the beginning of the game, a pawn is a 1. A knight is a 3, a bishop is a 3 1/4, a rook a 5, and a queen a 9. But not now. This knight is better than the 3. He's on an ideal square in the center of the board, and what he should have done is given up his bishop for the knight. Usually you don't give up a bishop for a knight, and what he never should have allowed is me to get rid of my bishop for his knight. But he was thinking, the reason why he played into this position is he wanted me to go bishop takes knight. He didn't want to go bishop takes knight because he read in a book somewhere that bishops are always better than knights. And what he failed to realize is that those values can change as the game goes along. I remember a game a few years ago against a woman international master. I sacrificed my rook for a bishop. And at the end of the game, 3 different people in 5 minutes said, "What did you sacrifice your rook for the bishop for?" That's why the game ended in a draw, meaning that they thought I would have won. And I says, yeah, that is why the game ended in a draw, because I would have lost. Oh no, a rook is a 5 and a bishop is only 3 1/4. But not in that position. In that position, the woman international master's bishop was way, way better than my rook. See, a lot of people don't realize that those values change as the game goes along. Just as right now, I don't know what the stock market's doing today, but my shares could have gone up, they could have gone down. So this is why he lost the game, is he should have never allowed me to give up his bishop for his knight, but he wanted me to do that, and now he should have given up his bishop for my knight, but he refused to do it, so he brings his rook over to guard the knight. Now he castles, and I go bishop takes the knight. And he's happy. He's thinking, wow, Jim gave up a bishop and only got back a knight. He thinks he's better, but he doesn't realize, not in this position. In this position, this is the key square, and my bishop couldn't participate and his knight could. Not only that, he now has double pawns. Now, double pawns are a weakness if the pawns start to move. A famous chess author, Nimzovich, many years ago said, the double pawns are like a man who has a limp. So, you know what, a person who has a limp, they walk kind of funny. You ever see a person? All right. But if he's sitting down, nobody notices that he has a limp. It's only when he starts walking that people say, oh, look, he's got a limp. So you should never, ever push these pawns, according to Nimzovich. You should leave them there. And I'm thinking to myself, how can I force him to push his pawns forward? And he does it voluntarily. I didn't even have to force him to do it. I was very happy that he did that. So we continue with our development like this. He brings his queen out. I move my king away, and now I almost fell out of my chair. He pushes the pawn on his own. Very, very bad move. Of course, he did it because he wanted to capture that pawn, but I simply moved the pawn away and attack his bishop. And now the tactics start. Up until now, there's been no tactics. All right, maybe there was that pin of the knight, but that's, you know. But now we have a lot of forks are going to start happening. Pawn forks, knight forks. And we also have something known as vacating a square. Now, yesterday I paid my rent. It's the first of the month. But if I didn't pay my rent, the landlord would have said, hey, you got to vacate the building. What does that mean? If the landlord says to me, I have to vacate, what would that mean? I have to move. You know, you didn't pay the rent. You have to move out. But I did pay the rent. But now, one of White's pieces, I want him to vacate a square, because if he wasn't on that square right now, I have a winning pawn for it. So what square is one of my pieces on that. If only he would leave, I could push a pawn forward and have a pawn fork. Can you see what square that is? Take a look at the board. Well, first of all, you know what a pawn fork is. That's where a pawn is attacking two pieces at once. So what square, just imagine that one of my pieces, and when I say pieces, I'm not talking about pawns, I'm talking about knights or bishops or queens or rooks. Which white piece, if only he would move and get out of there, would a pawn then be able to go forward and have a winning fork? Can you see what square that is? And I'll give you a big hint. It's the key square that I've been talking about for the whole lesson. What's the key square? Remember what I said the key square was going to be, FD? E5. Now, if this guy would only move, I win. You see? The pawn's going to win a piece. But he is on that square, so I'm telling him, vacate, get out of there, so he takes a pawn. Of course, he gets captured, but now I take another pawn, so I've only got 2 pawns for the knight, but look at all the forks. My knight is forking his queen and his bishop, and my pawn's about to go forward and fork his bishop and his knight. So he moves the queen, of course, because the queen's valuable. I take the bishop, and now we have the pawn fork. So I'm going to get my piece back. See, he has to see how the pawn is attacking 2 pieces at once. Of course, the queen's more valuable, and now I win the knight. Now, here's the problem he has. He can't go queen takes pawn, because then my bishop would get his queen. So he has to capture back with the pawn, but now look at his king position. It's all smashed up. So he's down a pawn. He's got a weak king position, and now I start attacking with the queen. Check. And now we have another pin. See how this bishop and queen are attacking that pawn, and you can't push it forward because I would get his king. Not only that, I'd also get his queen as well. So he can't push the pawn. It'd be an illegal move. So the only way to guard it is with his king, and now I have one sleeping piece, and I put him to work. So all my pieces are working, and he brings his rook over to help guard. And now this is a very important idea, pushing the pawn forward and taking that pawn. Pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, because pawns are only weak if they can be attacked from the front. If you can attack them from the front, so you see how these 2 rooks are attacking these pawns from the front. My 2 rooks are attacking, these 2 rooks are defending. Not only that, this pawn is being attacked by the bishop and the queen as well. So now I play this move. So up until now we've had pins and forks, but now we're going to have a skewer. Do you remember the skewer? That's where, here's what I'm threatening. I'm threatening to go bishop takes the pawn, check. He has to move his king somewhere, and then I would skewer his rook. Remember the skewers like the shish kebab, where they get 2 pieces of food on a stick? Well, here I would get 2 pieces of chess on a stick, and I'd pick off the rook. So he sees that danger, and he moves his rook out of the way, but now I take with the queen instead, queen check, and now I'm up 2 pawns, and I attack that pawn again, and now his king can't even come up to guard. So how the pawn's attacked 3 times, how can he guard it? Well, if he brings the rook over to guard it, then I win this pawn, and now I'm attacking that pawn a 4th time. So obviously he doesn't want to do that. So he pushes the pawn forward, and I just take it for free. Now I'm up 3 points. He can't go pawn takes bishop because the pawn is pinned. Then I would win his rook, and not only that, then I would checkmate him on the next move. So this would be very, very bad. But you see how everything's happening on this E5 square. That's where the knight went, then the knight vacated, and the pawn went, and now the bishop goes there. And so my strategy is working very well. Now he has to bring the other rook over to guard, and now I play rook takes the pawn. Now it looks like I just lost a rook for nothing, but what's he going to do when I go here? His rook can't take my queen because the rook is pinned. His rook can't take my rook because his rook is pinned, and it's attacked 3 times, and he can't bring his king up to help guard. So now he's going to lose the rook, and now I threaten a discovered check. Remember discovered check? That's where You see what's going to happen here? If he does nothing, I'm going to go rook takes rook, double checkmate. The rook will be checking the king, the bishop will be checking the king. So this is a very powerful threat, so he has to take with the rook. And finally, now we have an undermine. I go queen takes the rook check. Remember, an undermine, that's where you take away the guard. The king is guarding the bishop, but not anymore after this check. And now I win the bishop for free. And we have another skewer. Again, his queen. And at the end of all, I'm ahead of bishop and 4 pawns. And everything happened on that square. You see how my strategy from the very first move was to fight for that square. And he could have gone bishop takes knight earlier, didn't do it. He didn't have to allow me to pin his knight with my bishop. He just didn't understand the strategy. He's a very strong player. He won 3 games in that tournament out of 4. This is the only game that he lost, but he just didn't understand the importance of key squares, and he also thought that bishops are always better than knights. And that's not true. Sometimes they are, but those values can change as the game goes on, and that's what he failed to realize. He could have resigned here. He kept playing. He let me queen the pawn and checkmate him. I guess he was mad at himself, so he forced me to checkmate him. But that's a good example of strategy and tactics. All the tactics that I used, the pin, the forks, the discovered checks, everything was based on this diagonal, right from the very first move of the game when I went here and then followed up with that move. And so all the tactics were used to help carry out the plan. So does that, all those tactics we spoke about in the very first lesson, pins, forks, skewers, discovered checks, undermining. I don't know if there was a double attack. That's about the only tactic that maybe didn't happen. I'm trying to think if I had a double attack in that game. Maybe not, but 5 out of the 6 tactics took place. All right, so any questions on that? How you doing with your studying, Efren? How far have you gotten in the Bobby Fischer book? What? But you're still in the first chapter, the elements of checkmate, or have you gotten past that? All right, so you're past page 100 then. All right, good, because, well, what I want the two of you to do, I don't, have the two of you played a game against one another?
Yeah, last time they played.
They did do that, right? All right, well, maybe we'll do another quick 10 minutes of lesson time and then we'll let the two of you play.
Just one question here, like when you initially thought of this strategy of, attacking on that diagonal? Like
Yeah, I didn't invent this. I mean, Nimzovich did this back in the 1920s. Bobby Fischer did it again in the early 1970s. So this is a well-known opening, but he just didn't understand the strategy. Every opening has a key square. Every opening has a theme, and he just didn't. He didn't know the opening. After the game, I explained it to him. I said, you can't allow that. I said, because the one time where Bobby Fischer was black and Petrosian tried it against him, Fischer pushed his pawn. What Fischer did in his game against Petrosian is he put a pawn there very early in the game, so that square was gone. Petrosian never had, and then Fischer eventually won in the end game.
Okay. And what if the black castles on the other side? Then I think the strategy won't work, right? Or
I don't know if I mentioned this. I think you asked a similar question last week, and I said, it's just like when you're driving a car.
okay.
When the traffic pattern changes, you have to change your plan. Maybe my plan is to step on the gas, but suddenly the guy in front of me stops. I better change plans very quickly, or otherwise I'm going to be in hospital or dead. So as the position changes on every single change in the position, you have to ask yourself, do I have to change plans? Or maybe my plan is even better because he made a mistake. Maybe now I should think about changing plans. And that's the difficult part in chess is judgment. You have to constantly judge, and you have very little time to do it because the clock is ticking, and you can't figure it all out in your head, all the tactics. So you just have to rely on good judgment, just like when you're driving. Just like that, you have to make a snap decision. Do I turn to the right, to the left, stop, go? and every